The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I think I'll have a lot of people agreeing with the beginning of the take, and then I'll probably lose them to the second part of the take. But here goes. We're going to give it a shot. Right now, there's in all respects to everything going on, there's a minor blip in comics, which is that Mags Visaggio, who's been kind of out of / blacklisted for the industry for a little while, got to write a backup story in Superman. And this backup story is about Connor Kent, the quote clone of Superman, came onto the scene in the 90s. He was the cool one with the 90s gear and the 90s jacket. And, he actually had a pretty long career. I mean, they spent a lot of effort, both in that original Superman series of who is he really, is he a clone, but is he a hero? They went through all that. And then in the 90s, they also did this long storyline of him not wanting to be Superboy, him wanting to have his own identity. And what that all meant was just he wanted to be his own hero. Basically, he didn't want to be the clone of Superman. And this isn't exactly a new idea for comics. We've seen similar things over with Ben Reilly. We've seen, this whole idea of breaking out from your former hero's shadow, or being your own hero. So it's a pretty classic story. So they did that with Superboy in the 90s, and then they kind of off and on. Adam Parr was part of Young Justice, and then kind of sort of killed him, but then kind of didn't. So anyway, we've had a long run. And so Mags did this backup story, and in it, basically Superboy is hanging out with his sometime love interest, Lady Martian, the Miss Manhunter, whatever you want to call it. And there's been some background behind this too, this relationship. And in it, the story is really about it's kind of a throwback to those stories of the 90s. And this is important because the whole story reads as the same. It's like, once again, Connor Kent is, wondering kind of who he is. The aggravating part of the story a little bit is it's replaying tropes that were settled, 25 years ago, or just 20 years ago. And that's really what the story is all about. That's how the story was undoubtedly sold to DC as a kind of a putting Connor Kent back on the map. Hadn't done very much with him. We had, he showed up briefly in Bendis's run, and they're trying to do more with the Superman family. So, they bring this out again, and why not trot out the same kind of identity crisis level story that Superboy had? That's the story that was sold to DC. However, Mags also had a different story that she wanted to sell to DC, which was basically to sneak trans Connor. And she's going to do this by, changing his hair a little bit. And then having this story where Connor Kent is saying the same things he said in the 90s, like, I don't know who I am. Maybe I don't want to be Superboy. Except the story that DC signed off on, the story that DC thought they got was, the same old stuff around him and kind of his just general identity. And instead, Mags is saying, no. Actually, what I was saying was that he's saying, I don't want to be a boy, that I wanted to be a girl, that I was born a girl, I'm trans. And this was her way of kind of, sneaking in the character, sneaking in this change in the character's behavior. That's what she wanted to do. And so she put a full-blown, 18 plus issue pitch. It's up. She posted it. It's not a good pitch. People are saying, oh, it's insane, it's crazy. It may be all those things. It's also just not very good. The story kind of meanders all over the place, and this thing would sell about as well as, many of the other things Mags says. So, by the way, one of the things, if I'm in the, way back remember machine, at one point, Mags complained in an interview, I believe it was on Newsarama, that basically Mags gets called up to do the LGBTQ queer stories. And all Mags really would like to do is write Superman, is write Superboy. In fact, this character, Connor, that's really what Mags wants to do. But, nobody will ever let Mags do that because he's just a straight white boy And, they keep picking her for some reason to just write queer characters. And I remember this interview got some play. I remember a couple channels did videos on it, and I almost felt kind of sorry for Mags of, it is a shame that you are in the LGBTQ community and the publishers in their infinite wisdom, like that's all you can do now. So they just pick you for those stories and that's it. And that seems pretty limiting, seems pretty shitty in a lot of ways. And I remember a decent amount of sympathy for Mags. Like this shouldn't be how it is. So it's a little bit ironic that, Mags finally does get what she wants. She gets the opportunity to write a Connor Kent Superboy story. And what does she do? She immediately tries to turn the character trans. I mean, you see the silliness and the hypocrisy in here, right? I mean, like, damn it, why do they always pick me for these trans stories? I'll show them. I'm going to do Superboy and make him trans. Except I'm going to give them a pitch that sounds like just a generic, everyday kind of Superboy questioning his identity, because he did that a lot. We want to remind the readers that whole struggle back 25 years ago. And it's not an original idea, but that's okay. That's how comics are. You just want to kind of revisit that storyline. But sneaky plan, I'm going to have him say, I don't want to be Superboy. And that actually means he wants to be a girl. And then at one point, Lady Manhunter is going to go Connie instead of Connor. Because, by the way, if you are trans or gay, then you can pick your own identity, but you can't pick your own name. You certainly couldn't be called Connor, be trans. You can't be look like a woman and be called a boy's name. That's just absurd. So I throw that in, and I just find that really bizarre. It's like, well, definitely we got to have a more feminine sounding name. It's like, hang on, you can pick your gender, but you can't pick your name. What the hell? Like that? Like, does anybody else see how silly this is? That's ridiculous. Anyway, put that aside. So if you read this story and you ignore, basically everything Mags is saying, like, the DC editors did, then this just looks like, same Connor Kent questioning his identity a little bit. Nothing really much more to it than that. It's just, that's the story. And, but now what Mags has done is basically gone on Twitter because, shocking, DC did not accept her pitch to turn Connor Kent Superboy, trans. And I'm sure there was probably some, talk and speculation inside the DC halls like, God damn it, wasn't she blacklisted here? How the hell did she get to write? Why are we doing this again? Who did this? And so, of course, they rejected the story. And so Mags, who, thinks, the absolute best way to get back into the publisher would be to post the story and kind of shame DC into saying they'll never accept this. I dare them to accept this. Decides to post it and then point out all the panels where what Superboy is saying could be misinterpreted as he doesn't want to be a boy, as opposed to just the generic way it was written and sold to DC. And go, well, it's canon now. It's canon. Everything is canon. And here lies a little bit of a flaw. And, if I play this forward for a minute, again, whether you like the story, dislike the story, it's okay if you like the story. It's okay if you think this is a bold new direction for Connor Kent. Look, that's not my business. Whatever, whatever you want. But the idea of a writer, quote unquote, sneaking in a transing of a character through, dialogue has dangerous consequences. You might say, well, what does that mean, dangerous consequences? Well, again, let's game theory out where this all goes. Where it goes is editors are going to be far more restrictive and far more retentive over weird little Easter eggs that the writers decide to plop into the story. If you're a creator who likes to kind of tell your own thing at DC or Marvel, I have bad news for you, because you are now going to be under heavy restriction in whatever you do. You're going to be under heavy restriction because DC and Marvel are going to be afraid that you're going to put in some weird little can be taken in out of context a different way line in the story, and then you're going to go on social media like an idiot and claim you just made a major change to the canon of their characters. that's where it goes. It also is going to have another side effect, which is going to be even less caring about canon than we already have, which I think is a very bad thing. Comics are meant to have canon continuity, and so all this is doing is it's just going to loosen that up even further. But the immediate side effect is editors are now going to be hypersensitive over letting people write dialogue. It's going to be double checked, it's going to be triple checked, and it won't be with love, and it's not like you're going to get a more quality product out of it. You're just going to get a lot more restriction. And that seems absolutely the case, because nobody at DC has any interest in Connor Kent becoming trans, but this entire thing is a weirdly self-destructive stunt. None of this is going to make DC or Marvel, or frankly any publisher, want to hire Mags. To the contrary, they're going to say, hey, if we do something that Mags doesn't like, we're going to get publicly drugged in social media, and she's going to leak all kinds of stuff. I guarantee you there are people at DC right now wondering if the next tweet is going to have emails that she received from some of the editors or her page rate or who knows what. But companies tend to like to keep that stuff secret. And right now, I'm on a really good authority that people at DC are like, yeah, we're it's everything gets more restrictive now. Because the belief is this is a tantrum. And a tantrum, people do unpredictable things, and it turns out big corporations, businesses don't like unpredictable things. So that's just where what we're into now. But the other thing is, and this is where I think this cuts both ways. So hopefully you're a fan of Mags and you're sitting here going, Perch here is bashing the marginalized community again. No, not at all. Again, perfectly fine, I think, for Mags to make that pitch. Perfectly fine for Mags to submit it. Perfectly fine for DC to reject it. It's their character. Mags can go off and do a different story now with trans characters. It's fine. I do, again, point out for the record, Mags made a point to say that she really would just like to write comic characters and not be pigeonholed for writing LGBTQ characters. She'd just like to be able to write whatever she wants, which I can get behind. But, if that is your stance, then, you're going to need to, write characters that are not LGBTQ for a little while and not try and backdoor sneak in the transing of a major property. Or, I don't know, major, medium major. I don't know. Connor Kent has IP value. So this whole thing is absurd. And it's self-destructive. And I mean, the other comedy in all this is that Max is going, well, this just proves that everybody wants this because all of the followers and the response is super positive. And Megs keeps saying that over and over and over. And the reason she's saying that is because it's bait. And what I mean by that is Megs doesn't want it to be super positive. Megs does not want praise for this story. Megs really wants a bunch of people on Twitter to lose their shit and start calling her insane and all kinds of derogatory, bigoted names. That's really what she wants. She wants the attention out of it because it's a great game to put this kind of stuff up. We saw when she did the Kurt Cobain was trans tweets and all the various things she does. She throws something out. It's controversial. She, waits for attention. Oftentimes she doesn't get it. So then she doubles and triples down, saying it over and over and over again. Meanwhile, a lot of the people who are kind of logical about the whole thing are blocked. People who put up a logical argument like, hey, this story is actually the exact same story that was told back in the mid-90s of him questioning his identity. I mean, it really, if anything, this is unoriginal. Those people get blocked. The people who do not get blocked by Mags are ones who, go for bigoted slurs against Mags. Those people are left because those people are part of the bait. So Mags will do this over and over, get attention, and eventually it will quiet down. And as soon as it gets a little bit more quiet, expect a whole new volley of tweets where Mags is like, it is canon. That is going to become the sword and the shield of this entire argument. It's canon. These 3 panels prove canon, that this character, I wrote this in this way that could be interpreted in many different ways, and now it is canon that this character is trans. And you're going to hear that ad nauseum for the next 5 years. That's going to be the only gimmick. And I mean, I guess it has to be because there aren't going to be other comics written. So we're just going to lean on this over and over again. But who wins in this? I mean, does anybody? It's trolling on Twitter. I guess it's entertaining. If you don't think Mags is waking up super happy and excited to screw with some people on Twitter by posting this stuff, you're nuts. It's exactly what's going on. But no comics are being written. The only thing that's going to happen at the publisher level is, the editors are going to get a lot more anal retentive about what goes out. that's probably a bad thing for creativity in a lot of cases. Or maybe not. Maybe it'll lead to a golden age of character Bibles, not the religious type. I mean, just, more creative definition for these characters. Maybe that'd be a nice outcome if that's where it goes. But this entire mess is just so useless. So useless. A story was sold to DC under false pretenses. Mags had a plan to do this, snuck it in. Again, using double meanings for everything. Seemed benign. DC was not aware that when the 18-issue arc of trans Superboy, that denying that was going to cause this major flip out, and basically her to point to every panel of the book and go, see, I wrote this in this very specific way. See, it's there, canon. And to the broader topic in general, getting away from mags, this idea of it's canon now for weird little fantasies that are in people's heads. And by the way, we're not just beating up on, the transing of a character. There's all kinds of storylines that people get in their heads that are canon, are real. Head canon is a thing. And it's by and large stupid. It doesn't benefit the story. It's usually just some people's strange little fanfic that the companies have to wrestle with. And by and large, it's pointless. It doesn't add to the story, and eventually what it does, I mean, this entire thing, who's the important character in the story? It's not Connor Kent or Connie Kent or Lady, Martian Manhunter. It's Mags. Mags is the center of this story. This entire thing is about Mags. It's not about DC. It's not about Connor. It's about Mags. It's about attention for Mags. Because it's certainly not even for comics or books or paychecks for Mags. It's about attention. And Jesus Christ, who cares about attention for anyone? Too many people in comics, again, of all different politics, all different sides, are out for attention. They're making about them. The characters are a distant second, third, and fourth priority. It's about me. And nothing kills imagination and spirit of superhero books, or quite frankly, any comic books, when the creators demand that they are bigger than their creations. Again, look around. Look at the people who throw the biggest tantrums. Again, all different groups, all different sides, all different factions. But look at the people who, and I know you have some names in your head, who make it about them. In many cases, the characters they write are thoroughly irrelevant. Nobody even cares. Is that good for anyone? Of course not. You're basically paying to see a show. You're not paying to read, you're not paying to read a comic. You're paying to be part of the reality show of this person's weird little meltdown. Anyway, something to think about. Well, there, the beep from the car is a sign that I should shut the fuck up. So I'm going to do that now. Like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you care to, it's up to you, man. And again, if you're coming in here going, and some people will, again, these people I don't think listen to the actual videos or certainly wouldn't get this far into it. There's no knock against any LGBTQ topic in this video. None. What's being knocked here is the silliness and the absurdness of trying to backdoor in a personal agenda into a book. First of all, rather than just being straightforward with it, no pun intended, but to just be on the level, and then to throw this kind of weird, attention-getting tantrum in the background. I mean, what are we doing? What is going on here at this point? Yeah, nothing good. Thanks for listening.